Okay, we just got through Act 1, Scene 1. It starts off with those gothic elements of thunder and lightning, sort of mysterious. And um, really, that seems a good way to draw in the crowd, the audience of the time, right? Using those witches as a supernatural element to appeal to an audience that would have been consumed with witchcraft in the early 1600s. And nothing much happens there. It's sort of like three witches getting together and like, hey, when are we going to meet again in an open space? Okay, what are we going to do? We're going to greet Macbeth. Great. So it doesn't really advance anything. We just know that the witches in the near future are going to meet with Macbeth. And that takes us to the first real scene of action, which is Act 1, Scene 2. And in this scene, we're in a battlefield. And King Duncan, is with his eldest son, Malcolm, and they're talking about how the battle is going. And we're going to learn from a captain who's bleeding. This guy's in tremendous pain and he needs surgeons. We're going to find out that Macbeth and Banquo have been fighting incredibly well on the battlefield, and Duncan is overjoyed by their loyalty to him and their success. So with that said, we're going to get into this. My apologies to everyone in Scotland for my terrible Scottish accent when I read the part of the captain. All right, here we go. Duncan. What bloody man is that? He can report, as seemeth by his plight of the revolt, the newest state. This is the sergeant, who like a good and hardy soldier fought against my captivity. Hail, brave friend! Say to the king the knowledge of the broil, as thou didst leave it. Doubtful it stood, as two spent swimmers that do cling together. And shook their heart. The merciless MacDonald, worthy to be a rebel, for to that the multiplying villainies of nature do swarm upon him from the western isles of Cairns and Gallaglasses is supplied, and fortune on his damned coral smiling sure like a rebel's whore. But all's too weak for brave Macbeth. Well, he deserves that name, which smoked with bloody execution like Value's men and carved out his passage till he faced the slave, which ne'er shook hands nor bade farewell to him till he unseamed him from the nave to the chops and fixed his head upon a battlement. Sorry, I got a little spit on my screen there. So in that section, the sergeant is talking about Macbeth fighting amazingly well, and he corners MacDonald and chops off, well, he slices him from the navel up to the head, chops off his head, and puts it on a wall by their castle. And I love Duncan's reaction right here. He's like, oh, valiant cousin, worthy gentleman. He's super stoked about this. And the captain then goes on with his narration of what's happening on the battlefield. And whence the sun gets a reflection, shipwreck and storms and direful thunders break, so from that spring whence comfort seemed to come, discomfort swells. Mark, King of Scotland, mark! No sooner justice had with valor's arm, bloody, just spinning on my computer a lot. With valor armed, compelled these skipping currents to thrust their heels, but their Norwegian lord surveying vantage, with furbished arms and new supplies of men began a fresh assault. Dismayed not this our captains, Macbeth and Banquo? Yes, as sparrows, eagles are the hair of the lion. So he's like, no, this didn't worry them at all, because the captain reports that there were forces, the Norwegian forces got more supplies and more men. And Duncan's like, oh, were they all worried about this? And he's like, yeah, just like a lion scared of a rabbit. They were about that scared. So obviously not scared at all. I like this captain has been wounded in battle. He's bleeding out, and yet he has time for a little bit of sarcasm. If I say sooth, I must report there were his cannons overcharged with double cracks, so they doubly redoubled strokes upon the foe. Except they meant to bathe in reeking wounds and memorize another Golgotha, I cannot tell. But I am faint, my gashes cry for help. All right, so finally they're going to get him some help. We have our second little reference to doubles. So we have this motif of doubles happening throughout this play. We had it in Act 1, Scene 1 with the witches when they say fair is foul and foul is fair. They were just talking about the weather kind of there at first, I guess. But really, fair meaning good, foul meaning bad. It's this idea of duality, that things maybe aren't necessarily as they seem. And that's going to be a concept visited over and over again. And in the captain talked about Macbeth and Banquo redoubling their effort. So doubles, just some motif to pay attention to. Okay, so then Duncan continues. So well thy words become thee as thy words, they smack of honor both. Get him surgeons. Okay, so the captain leaves. In comes Ross and Angus. And Duncan continues. Who comes here? Thy worthy Thane of Ross. What a haste looks through his eyes, so should look that seem to speak things strange. God save the king, says Ross. Whence camest thou, worthy Thane? From Fife, great king, where the Norwegian banners flout the sky, and fan our people cold. Norway himself, with terrible numbers, assisted by that most disloyal traitor, the Thane of Cawdor, began a dismal conflict, till the Bellona's bridegroom Lapton proved confronted him with self-comparisons, point against point, rebellious arm against arm, curbing his lavish spirit, and to conclude, the victory fell on us. Great happiness! That now Sweno, the Norwegian king, craves composition, nor would we deign him burial of his men till he dispersed at St. Colm's Inch $10,000 to our general use. No more that Thane of Cawdor shall deceive our bosom interest. Go, pronounce his present death, and with his former title greet Macbeth. I'll see it done. What he hath lost, noble Macbeth hath won. All right, end of this scene. We learned there was another traitor, okay? So things are not looking good for Duncan because all of these supposed loyal Thanes are rebelling against him. We had McDonwald, and then now we have news that there was another traitor named the Thane of Cawdor. And something very important is going to happen here. You should note this. The Thane of Cawdor, who's a Scottish traitor, has been captured, and the king says, hey, go announce his present death. Like, we're going to put that guy to death, okay? And he says, with his former title, greet Macbeth. So Macbeth, for fighting so loyally for the king, is going to get the Thane of Cawdor's title. He will be then the new Thane of Cawdor. And this is really important because this is where the witches are going to come into play in the rest of this act. They're going to, at one point, they're going to meet with Macbeth and they're going to greet him with the title Thane of Cawdor. They're also going to call him King hereafter. But when he hears that title, Thane of Cawdor, he's like, I'm not the Thane of Cawdor. But of course, he's been given that title. It's a little bit of dramatic irony. We know something that he doesn't. Okay, we know that the previous Thane of Cawdor was a traitor. He's going to be put to death. His title stripped away and then given to Macbeth. Macbeth doesn't know that all transpired, so he's going to think that the witches have the ability to see into the future, to predict what's going to happen. So he's going to put a lot of stock into what they say. Okay, so that gets us through Act 1, Scenes 1 and 2 at this point. Sorry, I'm just trying to mess with this silly computer here. Oh my goodness, stop.